Hey everybody, welcome to this week's Roundup. Before I begin, I just want to thank everybody I ran into at PAX East over the weekend. I didn't even realize I was going to be able to go to the last minute, which is why I didn't mention it on last week's podcast. But honestly, thank you so much. It's still strange to me that people recognize me, but everybody I ran into was amazing. The people I met outside waiting for the Uber were hilarious. Thank you. And sorry if I'm ever awkward. I just genuinely don't expect to be recognized. When I am, I just try to break the ice, make a silly joke, which often doesn't land, and kind of just try to be friendly. But seriously, thank you. You just made my whole day. It just was awesome to see you. I always love meeting people, whether it's just a hi or whether you have a question about nerdy stuff or want to share some of your retro experiences. There's a couple of people over the years that were like, oh, I built a retro cart too, but I wired a flux capacitor and then 88 miles an hour to light speed. And I love that stuff. So thank you. Honestly, I just really wanted to say that before I started. But enough rambling. Let's jump in. First up, Marco Retro just posted another video in his Downscaling series, this time about the GBS Control Pro. Yeah, that's not a real thing, by the way. There was a company on AliExpress that basically took a GBS control and made it with all of the stuff needed to be a GBS-C built in, but also on the same board built in an analog to digital converter, as well as another cheap scaler, kind of like the stuff that you see on Amazon for a couple bucks that takes HDMI and brings it down to composite video and things like that. And it's exactly as you'd expect. It's like you took a GBS control and bought those other components and plugged them all into each other, because they also have different and separate control mechanisms as well. So Marco went through, and really for a lot of people, this might actually be a pretty cool thing to solve the issues of how to downscale stuff. It's of course got a lot of latency if you have the other boards that are built into it routed through. If you just use it as a GBS control, it's got the same very low latency. But I do see how there are some scenarios for people that want to watch TV and things like that might be interested in these. But it's my personal opinion, and everybody's obviously, welcome to your own, and please let me know if you think I got this wrong. But I would so much rather just get a well-built GBS control and then pair it with whatever other options that I need. Because if you decide to use it, cool. But if not, each one of these things now becomes an awesome tool in your toolbox that you definitely are going to use at some time between now and never, right? So if you're interested, and I actually strongly recommend watching the video, even if you're not, because this is a neat one. This kind of just goes to show how good engineers miss the mark all the time. That's definitely something I've seen over the years, but it's got a lot of inputs, a lot of outputs. It's convoluted to use. It's not the best quality, but it's just an interesting video, and it's interesting to see how people went about doing it. And it's also one of those things where it's like, at what point do you stop? And I mean that with love, right? Like, you're a developer and you're like, okay, well, if you want something that can do everything with low latency, you're basically building an OSSC Pro or a RetroTink CE or 4K. So, that's a lot of money. So let's try to do it as cheap as possible. So let's add these things in. But how much stuff do you add in before it's just like, you know what, save your money and get the real products instead? So I don't know, but this one was really interesting. I'm glad Marco wrote it up. If nothing else, I'm really glad he did a video and a write-up on it, just so people could kind of have something to search for and go, is this Rama's GBS Control Pro? No, it is not. This is just somebody calling it that. So awesome video, not so awesome product, but kind of a fun concept. Next up, the developer Mod has just posted a full English translation to the Sega Saturn game Waku Waku Puyo Puyo Dungeon, which is a top-down roguelike action RPG that is kind of a spin-off of the Puyo Puyo puzzle games, which themselves are a spin-off of the Maru Monogatari series of RPGs. So you're starting to get deep into the Japan-only releases of the Saturn, but Mod did the translation and the hacking of the game themselves and has been working on it since 2019, and said that this was their first from-the-ground-up project. So their previous ones were addendums to existing ROM hacks that already had support for English, so this one was theirs start to finish, which is obviously a massive undertaking. Mod said that the biggest hurdle to completing the patch was dealing with the several different routines that Puyo Puyo Dungeon uses for text, because most of them need to be completely retooled to not freak out if everything wasn't double byte aligned, so there was some whack-a-mole going on in hacking in support for ASCII text. So this is obviously awesome if you're into any of these style games, and as always, I really appreciate English translations because I just see the excitement in people when these things come out. So even if it's a game that I'm not totally into, or maybe I don't think I would be, I always get excited when I see it, just because I know there's tons of people out there that are going to see the title of this game and freak out because they get to finally play it in English. So thank you very much, Maud, and all the details that you need are right in Dan's post. Next up, the developer Cyril Vendetti had just recently open sourced a whole bunch of projects they'd been working on over the years, ranging from things like an SNES to Neo Geo controller adapter, a super gun that was designed to be used with a Neo Geo MV1C but could be used with quite a few different boards if you wanted to, as well as a custom PCB that's a battery holder for Neo Geo MVS 1B and 1C boards, and even a couple of items for GBS controls that try to make making your own a bit easier. So if anybody's interested, they're all released under the GNU General Public License, which is basically have at it, but don't bother me and do it all at your own risk, which is fair. I'm totally fine with that. And it's kind of funny because when I first was reading through Cyril's GitHub to see what was uploaded, I kind of laughed at how spoiled I've become over the years because there's a bunch of different controller adapters that are all good. Not saying that, Cyril's isn't worth looking at, but there's also a bunch of super guns, a bunch of other stuff. And the thing that really got me was the battery holder, which is infinitely simpler than all of the other things Cyril designed and released, but I had never seen a custom one for the Neo Geo like that before. So all you have to do is have the PCB made from anybody, and then buy the one part that actually holds the battery in place, solder that together, and there you go. You have a custom battery holder for the Neo Geo. So it's just kind of funny because, many years ago, if all of this stuff had popped up on GitHub, people would be losing their minds like, holy crap, look at this stuff. This is great. And now there's just a bunch of really amazing developers out there that all have good projects, and some are better for you than others, and better for each person's specific setup and scenario. So I encourage you to check out Cyril's GitHub to see if any of this is the correct fit for you. Thank you very much to Cyril for uploading these and just sharing them with everybody. And it's just awesome to see how much cool stuff is out there these days. The musician Remute has just opened pre-orders on his next album. This one was composed on and designed to be played on Commodore Amigas. Specifically, the Amiga CD32 is recommended. However, it'll also run on Amiga 1200 and Amiga 4000s with CD-ROM drives, as well as all common Amiga emulators. And of course, if you pre-order the version that is for original consoles, you'll get the entire digital album available as well. The price came to just over $40, including shipping to the New York City area, and it's due to ship in July. And Remute's albums have always shipped basically exactly on time, so no worries there. And this is another just awesome Remute album. When I first discovered Remute with his Sega Genesis album, which I still absolutely love that one, and he's been killing it, just putting out albums on totally different platforms all the time. And it is just really cool to see these things being played using the hardware's actual chips. So, like I always say, this isn't something like an MP3 player built into an NES cart where you just use the audio pins to play it, which that's neat, but this is next level stuff. So the fact that Remute's been doing it on all of these different platforms make it even cooler, and I'm really interested to see what's coming next because I think he's covered basically everything. I'd still love to see at least one song made on a Japanese master system, so the PSG and FM sound could both be accessed at the same time, but who knows, we'll see. Or maybe something crazy like an album just on the master system, but with one song where if you put it in the MK2000, it accesses a different version. I don't know, I'm a nerd. I love music and I love all of this stuff, so the fact that it's all together just gets me excited. So if you want more info from Remute, I did an interview a couple of years ago, which I should probably do another one to follow up now that there's so many different albums out there, but at least you'd be able to hear the origin story and kind of a lot more from Dennis and how he approaches this stuff. But seems like another cool album, and pre-order if you're into this stuff. 8-Bit Mods have just announced the VMU Pro, which is essentially a Memcard Pro for the Sega Dreamcast in the form factor of a standard VMU, and pre-orders will open this Thursday, May 15th at 1 p.m. New York City time. There's going to be more information released on Wednesday, same day as this podcast, and as of now, there's a teaser for it that's on social media if you're interested to just see some basic info, but I wanted to get this out to everybody immediately, even though pricing hasn't been announced yet or anything like that, just because I know a ton of people were going to be waiting for something like this. on the outside looks just like a VMU, except it's got all of the functionality, or presumably all of the functionality of a Memcard Pro, like infinite amount of saves. In the teaser video, it also showed off the ability to have emulators running on it, and it's backwards compatible with original VMUs, so you could connect it to itself. And the shell was once again designed by Greg from LaserBear, who had mentioned that this was the most difficult of the Memcard Pro shells, as it required a custom VMU connector and custom button membranes. So once again, more info should be available on this about the same time that you're hearing this podcast or watching this video. And I am really excited for it. I think this should be, because, to be honest, I think I've told the story a million times, but when 8-Bit Mods first contacted me about the original Memcard Pro, I said, yeah, please send me one. I'd love to do a write-up on it and kind of check it out. And once I got it home and started messing with it, I went, oh, I can't just do a write-up on it. I have to do a whole video. This thing is way too cool for that. So every Memcard Pro since has basically been that exciting, and all of the features and stuff they've continuously added to it are so impressive. So I can't wait to see the full launch information about the VMU Pro. But to be honest with you, you're welcome to have your own opinion about this, but I would be willing to pre-order it right now without any of the other info, just based on the previous performance of the other Memcard Pros and the very cool teaser video. So check their site for more info. I'll obviously do a write-up here on RetroRGB as soon as more information is available, and I'll follow up again next week, and hopefully pre-orders are still open and there's still going to be some available for people to get. Retro Fighters have just launched a Kickstarter for a new PlayStation controller that they're calling the PlayStation Defender Pro. And this is going to come with a wireless dongle that connects to PlayStation 1 and 2 consoles. It's also going to come with a wireless USB dongle, so you could plug in anything that takes USB. And you could connect it via wired USB as well, or flip a switch on the back to set it to Bluetooth mode and be able to connect it to basically any Bluetooth console or emulation system or something like that. The price is about $65, and it's due to ship to customers by the end of the year. And this thing is really aiming to be the go-to PlayStation controller. If it performs even partially as well as the Kickstarter claims. And remember, Retro Fighter's last couple of controllers have performed really well and have had super low latency. So I have very high hopes for this one, but it's got a ton of features like pressure sensitive buttons, Hall effect analog sticks, immersive vibration, motion control, trigger locks, 1000 hertz polling rate, back grip buttons. I mean, this is just, it looks like a PlayStation controller. It looks like it should feel like just a modern PlayStation 2 controller. So I'm excited to check this one out. Obviously it's going to be quite a while before it's in our hands, 6 months plus, but this is something that I just think would solve so many people's problems. And I know a lot of people who want to have one wireless controller for everything, that want it to perform the same. So I just think this is what people have been asking for. And at the moment, you have the choice of 4 colors: black, gray, and then translucent blue and red. But there's Kickstarter goals that if they reach, they'll be unlocking different color choices and everything. And I did already pre-order one, and you don't get a color choice until it's I think until later on. That way, if other colors are unlocked, you'd be able to pick and choose then. So I thought that was pretty cool. That way you could just put your pre-order in and then decide on colors later, depending on what's available. To be honest, I probably would just want black or gray anyway, so it really truly looks like an original controller, but the other colors do look really awesome. So if you're into, especially if you have like a clear case for any of these things, you might want to look into matching them. But I mean, it looks awesome. It looks like exactly what I would want. And while I usually kind of wait until Kickstarter campaigns are, completely, look, it's already completely funded. Ha, that's funny. It just started this morning. So the fact that it's already funded a couple hours later just kind of goes to show how many people are as excited for this as me. So check out the links for absolutely all the info that you need, but I have high hopes for this one, and I'm excited to get one to try it out. Next up, the developer Lorenica has just posted a full English translation for the Sega Saturn game Dungeons & Dragons Tower of Doom, which is a side-scrolling beat-em-up that was originally one of the 2 games included in Capcom's March 1999 compilation Dungeons & Dragons Collection, and this actually had already been translated and released in the West through the Wii U, Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and PC via Steam in 2013, and a collection named Dungeons & Dragons Chronicle of Mystara, complete with the official localizations, but this was the first time it was ever done and ported back to the original Sega Saturn. So if you want more details on this, definitely check out Dan's post. There seems to be a pretty interesting story about how all this came together, and this is one of those things that I think is really neat because for me personally, and you're welcome to completely disagree, but while it's cool that this stuff is available on modern platforms, if I have a Sega Saturn and I have the ability to play homebrew and there's an English translation of a Saturn game, I want to play it on my Saturn, not on my Wii U. So, everybody is welcome to their own opinion about that. And I'm sure there's some advantages of just doing it on modern platforms, but I do, as always, appreciate all of these translations. And this looks pretty cool. So check out Dan's post for more info. Well, that's it for this week. This was kind of a quick one because I was away at PAX East, so I wasn't able to get as many posts done as I normally would like to, but I'm pretty sure I hit all of the time-sensitive stuff and pre-order stuff, but if I missed anything, I'll definitely swing back around to it, and always feel free to let me know in the comments if I missed something. I always appreciate it when it's like, hey, I'm not sure if you've seen this, and not, you idiot, you missed this, you suck, why did you? And I really do try to get to everything, and very often I have to just pick and choose, and the stuff that isn't time sensitive gets pushed back. But I'm not perfect. I missed some cool stuff over the years, and I tried to catch up and get through all of it. But anyway, as always, thanks to everybody who watches, listens, plays nicely in the comments, and especially thank you to anybody who supports in absolutely any way, because it really is you who's keeping all this stuff going. So thank you all so much, and I'll see you next week. This week's Roundup is brought to you by Neo Paradigm Entertainment, connecting Southeast Asian influencers with opportunities in the West.